Hello and welcome to Inflection Point Conversations. I'm Michelle Obeda, an art director and 3D artist. In this podcast series, I'll be interviewing experts in the fields of art, architecture, and visualization. Together, we'll take a deep dive into the disruptive topics that have reached an inflection point in our industry. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe. You can also comment and give feedback. I'd love to reach more people and grow this amazing community. Today, I'm talking with Giovana Driessen. Giovana is the CEO of Elephant Skin, a global archivist studio with employees in over 30 different cities around the world. With a master's in architecture and urbanism, Giovanna built her career in the United States as a landscape architect, working at renowned firms in Miami and LA. She joined Elephant Skin in 2018 as a co-founder and helped to develop their unique organizational structure model they called the molecular structure, which applies to remote work. As well as a CEO, Giovanna is also the creator of an inspiring program called She's Sharing Her Elephant Skin, which empowers women and inspires them through stories of achievements, resilience, mistakes, and success of other prominent women in the real estate market. Welcome, Giovanna.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. I have so many questions to ask you. We met at 3DNY when you presented with your other co-founder. Um, and that was great. And I feel like it's a very interesting. I know my very first podcast that I did here was with Fabio Pavelli, one
Mhm.
of your creative directors, and that was amazing. And I feel like I've heard so many great things and seen so much great work from your studio. I mean, congratulations on that.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure to meet you in the 3D in New York. And also, thank you so much for the invite for your podcast. It's so nice to share new ideas, things that we have been doing with like so nice people. So thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really enjoying it, and I feel like I'm learning a lot from all the amazing people I'm talking to. So let's get
Mhm.
into it. I'd love to ask you, first of all, what got you interested in architecture and landscape architecture?
Sure. I graduated in architecture and urban planning in Brazil. And by the time, my mom is an architect. So I think she got me inspired a lot about her journey in the field. So then I thought it would be like, it could be interesting to follow her steps. I've been breathing and living architecture since I was born. So I graduated in architecture, and then after that, I thought it was the right decision to keep studying. So I did a master's degree in sustainability. But being honest, I never had to use any of the knowledge that I learned in this master. But the diploma was a very, very important for my career. And then by 2015, me and my husband, we decided to move to US to start working in US. And then I thought it would be very important for my career to start working with what I actually studied.
Mm-hmm.
Since my graduation, I always loved landscape architecture. But in Brazil, when you graduate as a landscape, interior design, urban planning, architect, all from the same course. So it's very
Right.
different than US when you actually study something specific. In US, you graduated as a landscape architect or an architect. So I had the experience during college, like during the university, but I never had the professional experience. So when I moved to US, I was very open to try different things. And the first opportunity that showed up, it was to be working in a landscape company, a worldwide company. They had offices in Miami, New York, in Switzerland. It's called Wanea Garden Design.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like an amazing opportunity, an amazing chance, and it was a very nice experience as a landscape architect. It's when everything officially started.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And what made you want to transition to visualization?
Yeah, so a little bit before that, just to give you the path, after 3 years with Anea, I moved to LA and I started working with SWA Group. It's also a very international company. And there I had the opportunity to work and coordinate projects in the US, India, Dubai, and a few other places. So it was a great experience, especially in coordination. And then when, by that time, because we were in Los Angeles and the time zone is completely different, we were like pretty alone. Like me and my husband, we were like completely focused in work. Like we didn't have our families or our friends. So we took that year to focus on that. So 1 year before that is when Henrique founded Elephant Skin. By that time, it was just him. And then we moved to LA. He was with about 4 people. So we had Clayton, which was the first artist with us, and then Alex as the design area, and a few other artists. So pretty soon, I realized they were actually involved in, like, all of them were like focused in creative areas, right? They were artists or like the designers, or like were basically just doing the fun part, let's say.
Yeah.
But as they start to gain more clients, I realized that they were like very a very big challenge ahead of them, because nobody could coordinate, like, or even like create processes or deliveries. So then
And
that's,
you were working there at the time?
no, I was working with SWA at that time.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, but then when I realized that they actually they were only focused in delivering and producing the artistic part of the job, one day I show up to Henrique and I said, Henrique, I just quit and now you have another elephant. And then he was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Because like at the time, like Elephant Skin was in the beginning, so it was like what I was receiving was very important for us. My income. So then I said, no, let's join forces. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work. And then I was able to start coordinating, because basically I think since the beginning, what was very important for our clients, it was not only the quality. The quality was always what got us in the first place. So the client always, they look at our services, our products, and then, okay, I want to do my project with you. But what really keep the clients is the processes and how they can trust on Elephant Skin, how we solve problems. So this part of like the process and the delivery and the coordination is also a very important part of the Elephant Skin. So this
Yeah.
is when I joined then Elephant
Right,
Skin.
right, right. Yeah, and I love the name elephant skin. Can you describe what it means, where it came from?
Yes, this is a very common question we get. So when I was at ENEA in 2015, I had a lot of challenges, right? So I was in a different country with a different language. My English was very poor at the time. So I had to do a lot of mimics to communicate, but I was always willing to do a little bit more. So I was always very engaging with the project and I wanted everything to make it work. And then I remember one day, my ex-boss, like we had a meeting with a client, and then the client, they didn't like the project. And I was super upset because I stayed late. I was during the weekend doing that project. And then when we went back to the office, she glued a post-it note in my screen and said, G, you need to have more elephant skin. So she wrote in a pink post-it note, elephant skin, which is an expression, right, in English, that you need to be tough, right? You need to
Yeah.
create your elephant skin. So you're gonna have bad days, good days. And that was in my mind. I still have the post-it. And then a few years later, when Henrique founded Elephant Skin, we thought that it has everything to do with us and with what we want to do with the company. We want to create new things, be innovative, and it's not going to be always easy. So it felt like a glove.
Wow, that's perfect. I mean, it's a great name.
Thank
And it's a
you.
good story. I feel like it means
Yeah.
so much because I think maybe all of us could use that post-it note, next to our computers for those days.
Yeah. Yes.
And so so Elephant Skin has grown from what, like 5 people to 130 people or more in about 5 years. Was it
Yes.
always your vision to grow the company to that kind of size?
Yeah, so since the beginning, we knew that we wanted to be like the largest company in the world, but we say like, what exactly means that? And the idea is not necessarily to be the largest in number of people or in number of projects, but the idea is to be the go-to agency for real estate. So when a developer is planning a new project and they want to have like a campaign for the project, the idea, like the same way you go to Google to search for something, you should be contacting Elephant Skin for that. So that's the goal. So we knew that we would have to grow a lot, since this was always the idea since the beginning. But I think we didn't visualize that it would be so fast. So we start to have a lot of projects, and with that we had to grow our team pretty fast. It was not easy. I remember exactly one day that I sat by next to Henrique, and I said, Henrique, I think we were in about 2 years of Elephant Skin. We had like 30 projects, about 30 people, and I said, Henrique, or we stop at this size, or
Mm.
I'm going to die. It was basically that. And I am still here, and we have many more projects now. So
Yeah.
something that I really had to realize, it was how to completely change the way we were envisioning and coordinating and managing everything.
Mm.
At that time, I was the only person who was like in all emails. I knew all the details, all the information, all the communications, all the clients, every single task each artist was developing. So it was insane. And then I said, okay, I really need to change that. So this is when everything started. It was when it was like a change of mentality, and when we start to implement a few tools in our day to be able to expand like in a more healthy way. So we
Yeah.
created a structure where everyone has visibility in terms of tasks, what needs to be done. Basically, it's when we officialize to decentralize the leadership. So it was not
Right.
only more about me. I had more people doing the same thing, so I could share responsibility. And it was so good because it can be very lonely when you have to make all the decisions. So then it was possible to start growing and having more projects and more people.
Yeah. Can you tell me about like, I think you sort of hinting on it, the organizational structural model that you made called the
Yes.
molecular structure. So what does that
Mhm.
actually mean? Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so it was also one of those key moments where we were discussing, and we'll say, so Henrique came to me and said, Gia, I have a challenge for you. I need you to draw our organizational model, but the only thing I want to ask you is to be a horizontal model. And then, okay, what is that? I've
Yeah.
been always working in more like traditional structures where it is basically like a pyramid system where we have one or a few people on top and a lot of people at the base in the operational side of the work. So the idea basically is that we flip this pyramid and then we become more like a horizontal structure. And then together we can go even further than just having one person making all the decision, which was basically how we started. And I was saying that, okay, this is not going to work. So with that, I started to think I went back to my a lot of studies, and we at the time we used to call our teams as cells, right? Like biological
Yeah.
cells. So I thought, I think we have something there. Let me explore a little bit more. And then is when I start to understand like there are like some connections between cells. That makes, if I create like analogies, it makes a lot of sense with the way we like to work. So
Sure.
instead of having one person, we call that a covalent connection. bond, which is basically when you have two people with different personalities exchanging ideas about one topic. So inside of our cell, which is one team, basically we have a project manager, which has the entire like coordination point of view, communication with client, tasks oriented. And another side, we have the most experienced or senior artist, which we call PO. So in the beginning, when we didn't have that team, like those two personalities, the project manager, which in our situation are usually architects, they don't know exactly how long it takes to develop like a scene. It's gonna like to make an adjustment in the file, it takes about 1 hour or 3 days. We
Mm.
can have an idea, but we don't know exactly how long and what is the complexity of doing that. So we were like squeezing and killing our team because we were just agreeing with the timelines that the clients were asking us. And then by the time we brought this person to the same level of leadership, they were able to exchange ideas. So the project manager was saying like, okay, we need that for like 3 days. And then they were saying, okay, we can do this and that. So when they exchanged those ideas, everything got much better. Like we had more like healthier schedules and the artists could understand better like why the project manager were like was requesting each one of the adjustments. So this was like the basic structure of the team. So we have these two leaderships and then about 8 people, 8 artists developing the projects. And then all the cells, they connect in a way that became, we created the molecular structure. So instead of having like a pyramid, we have like a three-dimensional structure. I don't know
Right.
if it works.
Yes.
I have a diagram here if you want to show me. If I can.
Sure. Yeah, can you share your screen?
Yeah, so basically this is our molecular structure. Like we have colors, they mean different abilities or different skills, but basically, so we have like the branding, the 3D, the modeling, the floor plans, assets. So we have a different teams, but if you see all these dots, they represent a person, but none is more important. So
Yep, I see.
everyone is important, is it as important as everyone to make it happen. So if one person has to leave for any reason, it becomes unbalanced. So we need to
Yeah.
bring another professional for that. So this is what it becomes a molecular structure, something that we can grow and much easier to expand than just like
Yeah.
a pyramid.
Yeah, I totally see what you mean. I think that's really smart. I think the analogy really helps to understand it. And do you feel like that helps to also make people all feel quite valued and have like less ego, for example? I know that's like often been a problem in my experience in many companies I've worked at.
Yeah, no, I think this is totally makes people understand that the new University of Elephant Skin is much larger than just like one team or one person or one project. It's about the whole structure. So everyone is important. So here, for instance, is more about like the 3D teams. We have like the leaderships and all the artists here. And then you see how many teams we have, and they're all
Hmm.
connected. So what is nice is that we start to draw and empower people to understand that not only they can have like vertical movement in terms of career growth. So let's say you come from junior, you become like intermediate artist, and then you become a senior, and then you become a PO. This
Mm.
could be like the traditional path, but you can create new opportunities. So let's say you can jump from like horizontal levels of different teams. I always like to use one example as one professional that he started with us right in the beginning as a modeler. And then after that, he understood that he likes more of the coordination side. So he became a project manager. And then after that, he became our managing director. And today he's the head of research and development of new products at Elephant Skin.
Mm,
So you don't need to create to be growing in just one direction. You, as you understand the entire universal aspect of our structure, you can jump to different locations. And the one thing that is very important is how we exchange ideas. So having like more senior artists, more POs, they can always exchange. So there's not one team that is more important than the others. Everyone
mhm.
is important for the structure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for showing me that. That's really helpful. Um, yeah, and so you have employees in like over 30 cities around
Mhm.
the world. How do you think your company benefits from employing people around the world? What are the benefits for you?
Yeah, so if you also allow me, I will justify a little bit of why we are remote, right? Because
Sure.
when we were in the beginning, we didn't want to be remote. We wanted to have like a huge floor in Manhattan with 100 people, everyone in the same location, like more like a traditional style. But then
Hmm.
even before the pandemic, we understood that we needed to find the best professionals, right?
Hmm.
So we needed to look for the quality and professionals that are willing to do something different. So that's when we start to look, and then we found, okay, at that time we were in Los Angeles. So it's not, maybe Los Angeles is not the best place or where we're going to have the most amount of artists to be working with us. So then we start to look for different places. And then by, let's say, accident, we start to see artists everywhere in the world. So in the beginning, we had to say, look, to every kind of like hide from our clients that we were remote. And then the pandemic came, and then everything was easier to explain. But I
Right.
feel that what is the most value we add to our clients or even for ourselves as a company is the different backgrounds, the different cultures, point of views that everyone together can add to one project. So let's
Yeah.
say if we have people from different cultures, imagine how many point of views, opinions, experiences we can add. So even like if we're doing like, let's say we're doing like a living room, how many options or different ways or like you can compose that scene. So that's why
Yeah.
it's very nice to have different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting. I think it's great to be able to use the different backgrounds. I thought it's interesting what you said that at the beginning, before COVID, before people were really working remotely, you felt like you had to kind of hide that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's much more accepted. Do you feel like um, clients are not surprised or affected by knowing that people are remote? I think it's more understood now, isn't it?
Yes, it's much more. Before people say, okay, so you have a lot of freelancers working with you, and then no, they are like working full time with us, like focus on the projects. So it was much difficult to explain to our clients how we were working. And now it's much easier because like with technology, with all the tools we have, not only remote, but we need to adjust the way we communicate among our professionals because it needs to be very efficient. So we have like so many different time zones. For instance, on Monday, I'm
Mm.
gonna have a call with people on London, Brazil, Chicago, and Vancouver. So it's all
Oh,
like,
someone's waking up early and someone's staying up late. Yeah.
yeah. So, but this is so nice because in terms of strategies or how we unfold the campaign in the projects. So how many good things we have in Brazil that we can use for strategies in Canada and vice versa. So it makes everything so rich in terms of cultures and
Yeah.
it's really amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I feel like your analogy of the molecular structure as well kind of enhances that. What challenges have you found from hiring remotely? Are there anything that you found a bit challenging you've had to overcome?
I feel that there were a moment that we had to hire a lot of people, like in a very short period of time. So even if we got like very good at working remote, Sometimes it's good when we meet people. So we have a very traditional party. It's our Halloween party every year. It became more important than Christmas, honestly. So it's a moment where everyone meets. So everyone comes from different locations and then we meet. And this is very, it's such like an important moment because even though we work remote and we deliver very good quality and processes, but anything replaces being in person.
Yeah.
So I feel that we had to adjust a little bit of our hiring process and to make much more demanding and the interview process to make sure that we were hiring the not let's say not the right person but the right professionals for the way we work because there are people that just they like to work in a different way and that's totally
Yeah.
fine but since it's a very particular way it was important that people have not only the hard skills but the soft skills to be able to accommodate this style. So let's say we don't control any vacation or time off, right? So people can have as many time off as they want. But to do that, usually people end up working more than actually
Right.
taking more days of vacation. So people need to have a lot of responsibility with themselves and not only with the company because it's very funny how we tend to be our last priority and you never have time to take time off. So it's so that's why this is just an example, but that's why we became, instead of just hiring a lot of people, we start to be very cautious about our hiring process to have like the right professionals.
Yeah. And what kind of things did you have to put in place? I mean, did you find you had like rigorous interviewing processes, or did you have to sort of ask like for a lot of references? Like what kind of things did you have to do to improve that hiring process?
So we have like a lot of steps. We usually have a very clear the process of like what is the responsibilities of that position. And we usually have like a 30, 60, and 90 days accomplishments that we expect from that professional. So that was very important, not only for the person that is entering the company, but actually for us, because then after 3 months, we can have like kind of like a performance review of 3 months and align the expectations. But then it was very clear since day one what we were expecting after those 90 days. So that became like very, very interesting for us and for the professional. Besides that, not only the HR interviews the person, but also the head of the department. So if it's an artist, if it's like a designer, if it's an architect, whatever is the position, who is requesting that professional needs to be part of that. And usually is the person that is going to be interview in terms of hard skills. And then our HR department, they interview more in terms of soft skills. And then depending on the position, when it's a more like a leadership position, then usually I get involved as well in the process. But if it's not like a leadership position, then usually the head of the department and then the HR is controls the process.
Yeah, interesting. And so 2 years ago, you became the CEO of Elephant Skin.
Yes.
What have you enjoyed most about this role?
Honestly, I started to enjoy this year because the past 2 years they were very scary.
Yeah.
They were very scary because Elephant Skin became what it is in such short period of time. And Henrique, as the founder and original CEO, he put a very high bar of expectations in that position. I've never been a CEO before, so it was a lot that I was asking myself. Nobody was demanding anything from me, but I had a very high expectations with myself.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging understanding what was really my responsibilities, what I was supposed to be doing, and understanding that I am not the same CEO. I have a different position as the original CEO. The goal is the same, right? We want to keep growing. We want to be the best company in the world, but the way we do things is completely different. So I feel that right now I have been enjoying much more because it feels that everything is being more like under control. So in the beginning of this year, I started a complete restructure of the company itself. So I implemented the 4 pillars. So we have the 4 main areas that everyone falls inside. So basically, is the people pillar, financial, operations, and the commercial, which is basically like the sales part. And being connecting all those pillars, it makes everyone in the company being more connected as well. I feel that before they were like more spread, so now I'm enjoying much more with that, like understanding how I can structure. And something that makes me a lot super happy is that also before we used to have more men in leadership. It was not like by we selected that person, but right now I feel that the most capable professionals to assume the leadership of those pillars, by coincidence, are women.
Yeah.
So now we have like a very we have like from 4 pillars, 3 are women. So I'm
Yeah.
very glad that girls are able to take another step. They are willing to take more responsibility. Sometimes it can be scary, but they are willing to do that. So I don't know, girls are having more, it's not that they didn't have before, but I feel that they are showing more now. So this is also a great accomplishment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it makes a really big difference actually. Like in all the different places I've worked, I think when there's more women in leadership positions,
Mm-hmm.
um, I as a woman feel like I have, something I can aspire to, and there's more balance, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
that's great to see in a company, because I think once you start doing that, especially I'm sure once you became the CEO, there's already more women that people can see in that position,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yes, I feel that with She Is, which is the program that we open, the idea is to encourage more girls to take another step, right?
Yeah, so I'd love to introduce this. So she's is stands for sharing her elephant skin. Yeah.
Yes,
Can you
yeah. So
describe the program?
of course. So it originally started with the idea that we were doing kind of like interviews or podcasts or just like simple conversations where girls could share more stories of how they became where they are and who they are. So sharing stories that other girls could relate. And we have been evolving a lot of this program, but more than just like talking, I feel that is really important when we actually act, right? So since now we have like a lot of girls in leadership position, I feel that more girls have examples of how they can follow, because it's not very common to use as reference, girls in as a CEO position or like a head of departments. So with more examples, I feel that girls, they have more energy to look after their dreams.
Yep.
Also, I'm not sure if you are aware, but we are bringing the two conference to Brazil. So
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
yes, Elephant Skin had a partnership with the two conferences. So we are having one edition, the first edition of the conference in Brazil.
Where in Brazil?
It's going to be in Curitiba, it's south of Brazil, in
Okay.
October, end of October, beginning of November. And then we are thinking about like who are going to be the speakers. And one of the ideas is to also bring more women as the speakers, because to encourage more girls and women in the archives industry. I feel that even though we are growing a lot and becoming more like having more girls in our team, it's not that we for sure we don't select by gender. During the selection process, the hiring process, we sometimes we don't have any pictures, we don't have any photos. So only when we go to the interview we actually see who the person is. But I
Yeah.
feel that more usually men tend to apply more for positions that are open, especially when we come to senior positions.
Yeah.
So with the idea that having more girls as speakers, or like showing up that you can grow in this industry, we want to encourage more women to also be see as archivists as one possible career for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. That has also been one of the major things that I wanted to do with this podcast. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have been really enjoying having conversations with different professionals, and I feel like I know and I meet a lot of really interesting women
Mm-hmm.
in our industry, and yet a lot of other people feel like there's not many women in the industry, and I think, well, you don't hear
Yes.
their voices enough, and if you just turn the microphone to all the women who would who are doing really well, like yourself included, who are doing amazing things. I find it inspiring to see it, and I
Yeah.
hope that other people find it, the young women in the industry find it inspiring to see it and think, oh well, I can do that. I didn't know I could be a CEO, but
Mm-hmm.
um I
Yeah.
see someone's doing it and they're doing it well and confidently, like that's accessible. So I mean, is that something that you aspire to do, is to like encourage more women to get into archivist industry?
Yes, totally. Because I feel that to become an artist, you can come from different backgrounds, but one that is completely an option is when you are an architect. Of course, not only, but if you are an architect, I feel that it's, at least in Brazil, it's very rare to have one that graduates in architecture and think the archivist as one of a career for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I didn't see myself. I didn't thought
Same.
about that.
Yeah,
I was thinking about only architecture or landscape architecture. And then I think one of the things we want to do at Elephant Skin, besides a lot of other things, but is to put archivists in a position that is at the same level as other industries. So when you are doing like a development of a project, right? So we have the developer, we have the architects, we have the landscape architects, we have the engineers, we have the creative agencies, and then we have the archivists, we have the artists. So how do we value ourselves? How we can embrace and be at the same level of others? Okay, that the responsibility may be different, right? Like if the worst we can do is that let's say the rendering is not going to look so great, but the beauty is not going to fall. And of course, I understand that difference of responsibility, but at the same time, the value that we add with the campaign, with the renderings, with the film, how we tell the story of a building, and how people on the other side connect with that stories, is what make everything possible. Is
yeah,
how so when you, like, as a person, you are looking to buy or you're looking to rent, or where are you gonna live? This is like such an important part of our lives. So when you connect with the story of a house, like you can imagine ourselves in that home. That's so powerful. So we need to, the way we speak about our archivists, the power that we have in our hands should be at the same level of importance. So that's the idea, and that's one of the purposes of Elephant Skin, to bring more the archivists and the artists to that level of
yeah.
importance in the whole chain of developments.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's pretty inspiring as well for our industry. I have to say, I understand. I mean, it seems like you already have quite an inherent understanding of business. Did you
Mhm.
study business at all? Because I know that, I mean, speaking personally, I was always artistically minded, and I never
Mhm.
like was interested in business, but it seems like that you have an understanding about, growing business, improving business and stuff. Like, can you tell me, was that like an interest of yours, or did you just develop it with experience?
Honestly, no. I only studied architecture, and then I had my master's degree, as I mentioned, but I never studied to more the business side. But since in the beginning of Elephant Skin, I started to be get more attention to that part of the job, not only like to delivering the project itself. But it's been quite a journey. So it's basically by experiencing, understanding what it makes sense, and have a lot of like feelings about how you can make things work, and
Yeah.
basically trying. I feel
Yeah.
that by our experience, per our experience, I feel that only planning, drawing, like only focusing strategies doesn't take you anywhere. What it really takes and makes a difference is when you actually do it.
Yeah.
So don't take too long to make decisions. Just apply. And I think one of our most values that we have at Elephant Skin is shit happens. So
Yeah.
instead of just trying to avoid that problems happen, embrace them and make it and try to find a solution as fast as you can without pointing fingers, but actually being as a team and making things work. So just do it. I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in the past
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. 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 That should be another post-it note on your computer.
Yes, yes.
What would you like to see for the future of Elephant Skin?
So one of our major focus right now is to become what we are already doing, but known as a creative agency and not only as a studio. So we are growing a lot in other areas because we want to start the project since the beginning, since when we do the creative direction for the entire campaign. So since the strategy, the naming, how that campaign is going to be unfolded, and what type of assets we're going to be using for that campaign. So instead of having the client telling us, I need 20 renderings, one film, and I don't know, 3 cinemagraphs, because we have the control of the campaign, we're going to
Yeah.
be able to tell them what we suggest as the best assets for that. So let's say we have one project that we feel that instead of one, it deserves like 3 or 4 films, but maybe then we can reduce in renderings, or no, we can have more. So the idea is to keep growing as a creative agency, so growing other team besides the CGI team, so such as branding, for instance. The marketing team is also very important, and also to be able to again pull the archivists, the CGI team to the same level, because then we're going to be able to be more in control of the concept of the overall campaign of the project.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I really hope. I mean, I've seen Elephant Skin grow over the last couple of years, and it's been amazing to see your work and stuff. I have a closing question for you that I think is
Sure.
good to end on. What advice do you have for an archviz artist who's starting out today or looking for a job today?
I would say that especially for artists, focus a lot in creative direction. So not only about the tools, like to learn the tools and technology and AI. I truly believe that AI is not going to replace the artist. I think it's going to be like one additional tool to become an even better artist, but really focus in the storytelling, the creative direction, because behind the tool is going to be always a person telling and saying what it needs to be done. So
Yeah.
the creative, like the story behind a project is what makes a difference. And I think that's where people should be really differentiate themselves from other artists to become really good in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Creative direction and storytelling. I love it.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
fun bit, to be honest.
Yes, yes. But like the tool should be the basics, right? So every artist should know the basic tools, and how you become a better one is when you really can keep like studying, using references, searching for the market that you are working on. That makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Giovanna, for coming onto the podcast and for being very open and describing everything. I think it's very inspiring what you're doing, and your company is amazing. I think I'll put a link and everyone can go and have a look at your amazing work. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a pleasure.